welcome, my weary dreamers. Tonight, we descend into the depths of Neo Gotham, a city teetering on the edge of decay, absent its nightly protector. In the heart of this vibrant labyrinth, an unlikely hero must ready herself to reclaim a long-forgotten mantle in order to help an old man burdened with secrets known only to her and a handful of trusted allies. But most importantly, she must clear the name of her closest friend and confidant, McGinnis. The night pressed against the windows of the Gotham City Police Department, the rain streaking down the glass like tears. Within the building's concrete embrace, footsteps echoed faintly. Maxine Gibson moved like a ghost through the dimly lit corridors, her fingers dancing across her custom-built decoder as security doors yielded before her. 3 days of planning, countless hours mapping the department's security protocols, and one desperate gamble had brought her here. Come on, she whispered, bypassing the final security checkpoint. The magnetic lock disengaged with a soft click that sounded like thunder to her heightened senses. She slipped into the detention area, counting cells until she reached the one that mattered. McGinnis sat on the edge of a metal cot, elbows on knees, head bowed beneath disheveled hair. He looked up as she approached. Max. His voice cracked with disbelief. Expecting someone else. She knelt by the reinforced glass, placing her palm against it. What happened? The news is saying, it's all lies. Terry moved closer, his whisper urgent. They came for me and Bruce at Wayne Powers. Corporate espionage, insider trading, charges so ridiculous they'd be funny if we weren't here. We need to get you out, she insisted. No, whoever's behind this is dangerous. And they know things, Max. I think they know about my night job. And Bruce, too. It's the only way they could have gotten the evidence they needed to frame us. Her eyes widened with alarm. Any ideas on who it could be? In the silence that lingered, a faint buzzing sound gained Terry's attention. Psst. Max. His gaze shifted upward. She followed his line of sight to the security camera mounted in the corner. As they watched, it adjusted slightly, its electronic eye focusing on their exchange. Someone's controlling it manually, she breathed. Before Terry could respond, the heavy door to the detention area swung open. Commissioner Barbara Gordon stood framed in the doorway, silver hair gleaming under the fluorescent lights, her expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. I didn't expect to find one of Gotham U's brightest breaking into my precinct tonight. Barbara Gordon's office was a testament to order. Files neatly stacked, medals displayed with understated pride, and a single photograph of her father turned slightly away from visitors' prying eyes. The commissioner gestured to a chair across from her desk, her movements measured and deliberate. "Sit." Max remained standing, hands at her sides. "I'm fine, thanks." "That wasn't a request, Miss Gibson." The silence between them stretched taut as Max finally lowered herself into the chair. Barbara's eyes never left her face, studying, calculating. You know, most people who break into police stations end up in cells. Not my office. Max leaned forward. "Then why am I here?" Instead of answering, Barbara pressed a button on her desk console. A video recording sprang to life, filling the room with Bruce Wayne's voice, along with the unmistakable figures of he and Terry. "McGinnis, I need you to access the servers at Fox Tecker tonight. Destroy the Peterson files and leave no trace that you were there. We can't afford to lose this acquisition." The recording stopped. Barbara removed her glasses, polishing them slowly. "Pretty damning, wouldn't you say?" Max shook her head. "It's wrong." "The voice analysis checks out," Barbara replied. "Not the voice, the phrasing, Terry's posture." Max pointed to the console. "Terry tilts his head when taking instructions, shifting his weight. And Mr. Wayne would never call it the Peterson files. He categorizes everything by project number, not names." Barbara's eyebrow rose slightly. "You seem to know them better than most, McGinnis especially. We're friends. Friends who keep unusual hours." Barbara's question hung in the air, weighted with implication. "I've noticed his extracurricular activities often keep him busy during late nights." The realization washed over Max like cold water. She knows. He, works a night job. What about it?" "Night job." Barbara's lips curved into the ghost of a smile. "Let's just say I used to work nights with Bruce in my younger days." Max jolted in her seat. "Wait, you were..." "Someone who understands the importance of secrets." Barbara cut her off. "And someone who knows this evidence is too perfect, too convenient. No digital artifacts, no compression. Someone manufactured this." Rising from her desk, Barbara moved to the window, staring out at the rain-slicked city as Max's hand crept closer to the security vid disc. "Wayne Power stock is dropping. Public trust is evaporating. Someone wanted Bruce and Terry neutralized, and they knew exactly how to do it." Max's fingers closed around the security disc, casually sliding it from Barbara's desk while the commissioner remained fixated on the rain-streaked window. The small disc disappeared into her jacket pocket with practiced smoothness. A flicker of movement in the glass reflection caught Max's attention. Barbara's eyes had shifted, the faintest narrowing visible in her reflection. Had she seen? Max's pulse quickened, but the commissioner simply turned, her face revealing nothing. "The evidence against them is manufactured," Barbara continued, returning to her desk without acknowledging the missing disc. Someone with resources, connections, and a grudge. Relief flooded through Max as her fingers traced the disc's outline through her pocket. As she prepared to leave, Barbara handed her a contact card. I know I can't stop you from proving your friend's innocence, but don't try anything stupid like this again. I won't be so lenient next time. If you find anything, call me directly. Now get out of my office. And if anyone asks, at least tell them I roughed you up or something before releasing you. Max nodded sheepishly before turning to leave, a sly grin pulling at the lips of both women. Max's fingers worked methodically, the soft clicking of her keyboard filling her cramped dorm room. The incriminating security footage played on her left monitor, while lines of code streamed across the right. Rain pattered against her window, creating a soothing backdrop to her digital investigation. Outside, Gotham University slept, unaware of the conspiracy unfolding in its midst. Something's not right with this, she muttered, squinting at the footage of Terry and Bruce. The lighting was perfect, audio crystal clear, too pristine for standard security recording. Max enhanced the playback, frame by frame, searching for discrepancies. 3 hours in, her eyes burned from the screen's glow. She reached for her cup of cold coffee, grimacing at the bitter taste as the liquid hit her tongue. Leaning back, Max stretched her arms above her head, feeling the satisfying pop of her spine. That's when she saw it. A tiny flicker in the corner of the frame, almost imperceptible. Max zoomed in, enhancing the pixels until a pattern emerged. An embedded watermark, cleverly disguised within the video's encoding. Gotcha. Max initiated her decryption program, the green text reflecting in her dark eyes as she worked. She'd built this program herself, designed to peel back digital layers like an onion skin. Her system suddenly beeped in alarm. Red warning boxes cascaded across her screen. What the? Her fingers flew across the keyboard, erecting firewalls, countering the invasion. Someone was attempting to breach her system, probing her defenses with sophisticated precision. A chill crept up her spine as her monitors flickered, screens going black before text appeared, letter by letter. Peekaboo. Peek sees you. The name made Max pull away from her desk, coffee cup tumbling to the floor. Peek, she whispered. The name tugged at her memory, pulling forth a year-old conversation. This reporter, Ian Peek, he almost blew everything, Terry had told her one night, voice tight with stress. He had footage of me and the old man in the cave, used some phase-shifting tech to walk through walls and record private moments. What happened to him? She'd asked. The tech backfired. He disappeared, literally sinking to the planet's core. Max pulled up search results on Ian Peek. Headlines soon filled her screen. Inside Peak host missing. Controversial journalist vanishes. Peak's final show never airs. Photos photos showed a smirking man in an expensive suit, microphone in hand, famous for exposing Gotham's elite. The articles mentioned a brother, Michael Peake, who briefly took over the network after Ian's disappearance. Michael Peake, Max murmured, pulling up his image. The family resemblance was striking. The same confident smile, though Michael's eyes held something colder, calculating. Her fingers hovered over her keyboard, the connection suddenly crystallizing as Terry's earlier words echoed in her mind. Whoever's behind this is dangerous. And they know things, Max. I think they know about my night job. And Bruce, too. It's the only way they could have gotten the evidence they needed to frame us. She stared at Michael Peake's image on her screen. The digital watermark. The message, Peekaboo. It wasn't just a taunt. It was a signature. It's got to be him. Max stared at the small card with the commissioner's contact information. The rain outside her dorm window had intensified, droplets racing down the glass like liquid mercury under the glow of Gotham's ever-present neon lights. Her finger hovered over her phone as she took a deep breath before dialing. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. Barbara's voice came through, calm and measured. I found something. The evidence against Terry and Mr. Wayne. It has a watermark, a digital signature. I think it's Michael Peake, Ian Peake's brother. Silence lingered between them before Barbara eventually replied, her voice steady and controlled. My place. 1 hour. And bring back the evidence you took. The line went dead before Max could respond. Barbara Gordon's home was nothing like Max had imagined. She'd expected something austere, perhaps militaristic, a reflection of the commissioner's no-nonsense demeanor. Instead, she found herself in a warm house filled with plants and books, the walls adorned with photographs spanning decades. Most striking were the ones showing a much younger Barbara, with red hair, standing alongside various members of what Max recognized as the original Bat family. Tea? Barbara asked, setting down a steaming mug in front of Max, without waiting for an answer. The ceramic was warm against Max's palms, the scent of chamomile rising in delicate wisps. Thanks. Max took a sip, the heat spreading through her chest. Barbara disappeared into another room, returning moments later with a worn file folder. The edges were frayed, the label faded with age. She placed it on the dining room table between them and slid it toward Max. Ian Peake's disappearance investigation. Official and unofficial notes. Max opened the folder, her fingers tracing over photographs, reports, and handwritten observations. Her eyes widened at the detailed timeline of events surrounding the controversial reporter's vanishing act. But it was the section on Michael Peake that made her pulse quicken. He was a digital forensics expert. Max looked up, surprise evident in her voice. Barbara nodded, taking a seat across from her. One of the best. After Ian disappeared, Michael fell apart, started with prescription meds and escalated to harder stuff. Gambling debts piled up. He began taking jobs from people who wouldn't ask questions about methods. People like the Jokers, and worse. Max flipped through more pages, finding police reports detailing Michael's Michael's arrests and subsequent releases as the commissioner went on. He had skills valuable to Gotham's elite criminals, the kind who wear suits instead of face paint. Max's eyes fixed on a grainy surveillance photo showing Michael entering a known mob front. But why now? It's been years. Barbara sighed, removing her glasses and rubbing the bridge of her nose. Grief doesn't follow schedules. Michael blamed Bruce and Batman for what happened to his brother. Seems he's resurfaced. We need to find him. I can track his digital footprint and cross-reference it with too risky. Barbara's voice sharpened as she cut her off. Michael isn't just some hacker. He's dangerous, with connections to people who'd think nothing of eliminating a nosy college student. But Terry and Mr. Wayne are innocent. We can't just... An electronic tone cut through their argument. Barbara pulled out her phone, her expression hardening as she read the screen. Fox Tecker, another sabotage in progress. She stood abruptly. We'll continue this later. I'm going to get some backup and check it out. Max beat her to the door. I'll race you. Max had bolted from Barbara's house. The commissioner's warnings faded behind her like the traffic she dodged. The wind whipped her face as she raced through Gotham's midnight streets toward Fox Tecker. Her cherry-red motorcycle, a graduation gift she'd modified with salvaged parts, growled beneath her, cutting through the darkness with precision. She's gonna kill me, Max muttered, weaving between automated taxis and late-night delivery drones. Fox Tecker loomed ahead, its cutting-edge architecture a testament to the legacy of Lucius Fox. Max parked her bike in a shadowy alcove across the street, killing the engine and listening to the night. Something felt wrong. The security lights around the building's perimeter flickered intermittently, a telltale sign of electronic interference. Max slipped across the street, hugging the shadows as she approached the building's service entrance. The security panel blinked red, then green, before dying completely. Someone had already breached it. She eased the door open, wincing at the faint creak of hinges. The corridor beyond stretched dark and silent, emergency lights casting eerie pools of illumination that were swallowed by the depths of the hall. Max moved forward, footsteps whispering softly against the polished floor. A muffled thud from the R&D wing caught her attention. Creeping toward the sound, Max peered around a corner. What she saw made her blood freeze. A figure moved with inhuman grace through the laboratory, attaching small devices to critical research equipment. Even in the dim light, the intruder's cybernetic enhancements were unmistakable. A web of metallic wires wove intricately around his spine and grafted into his skin, glinting faintly as they caught the lab's limited light. His eyes, cold and calculating, burned with intensity beneath a tribalistic pattern of black face paint that covered much of his body. She reached for her phone to snap a picture, making the slightest of sounds as she reached into her pocket. The saboteur stiffened, head turning toward her hiding spot with preternatural awareness. Come out, little rabbit. You stink of perfume and fear. Slag it, she hissed, abandoning stealth for action. Max lunged forward, aiming a kick at the intruder's midsection, a move Terry had taught her during late-night training sessions. I'll show you fear, Max bellowed. The saboteur sidestepped with impossible speed, catching her ankle and twisting. Pain exploded through her leg as she crashed into a workstation. Amateur. The voice was deep and cold. Max scrambled to her feet, grabbing a wrench from the fallen tools. She swung, wild and desperate. The hunter blocked effortlessly, landing a precise strike to her sternum that drove the air from her lungs. As she collapsed, gasping, Max's eyes fixed on a communication device on his wrist. It glowed with soft blue light, emitting a static hiss before clearing. "Mission compromised," he reported, standing over Max's crumpled form. "I've been seen." Frustration marred the voice that responded over the comm. "Damn it. Remove any signs that you were there, including whoever spotted you." The saboteur removed the devices he'd planted before turning toward her. "Don't worry, little rabbit. I will make this quick." Darkness crowded the edges of Max's vision. The last thing she registered was the crash of the laboratory door flying open, and Barbara Gordon's voice cutting through the haze, fierce and commanding, as consciousness slipped away. Light flickered against Maxine's eyelids, awareness rushing back in waves of throbbing pain. She groaned, attempting to sit up, before searing discomfort forced her back against soft cushions. The ceiling above her swam into focus. Barbara Gordon's living room. The familiar scent of chamomile and antiseptic filled her nostrils. "Don't move." Barbara's voice came from somewhere to her left. "Two bruised ribs, sprained ankle, and a concussion. You're lucky it wasn't worse." Max turned her head, wincing as her vision doubled momentarily. Barbara sat beside her, medical supplies scattered across the coffee table. The commissioner's hands moved with practiced efficiency, wrapping a bandage around her ankle with just enough pressure to stabilize without cutting circulation. "What took you so long?" Max jeered with a pained wince. Barbara's mouth tightened. "You're the one who raced there. I did the smart thing and called for backup." She secured the bandage with a clip. "Reckless, impulsive." "Did you catch him?" Maxine asked, trying to ignore the criticism. "No. He had thermoptic camouflage. Expensive tech." Barbara dabbed antiseptic on a cut above her eyebrow. The sharp sting made her flinch. "You're resourceful, but reckless. Remind me of someone I used to know." Max caught the flicker of emotion that passed across her face. A ghost of memory, there and gone. Barbara's hands stilled. She set down the cotton swab, regarding Maxine with an unreadable expression. After a moment's hesitation, she rose to her feet. "Come here," she said, extending her hand. "If you can stand." She gritted her teeth against the pain and accepted the older woman's support, hobbling across the room. Barbara's fingers found a hidden catch beneath one shelf, triggering a soft mechanical click. The bookcase slid sideways, revealing a dimly lit chamber beyond. Cool air washed over them as Barbara helped her across the threshold. A row of recessed lights activated, illuminating what could only be described as a vault of memories. Display cases housed equipment that made her breath catch. A sleek black and yellow suit, modified batarangs, and grappling equipment that looked both archaic and elegant. Bruce isn't the only one who keeps souvenirs, Barbara said quietly. If you're going to help Terry, you need training. Maxine Gibson stared at the Batgirl suit, its fabric worn at the seams but meticulously preserved. Her fingers hovered over the glass, not quite touching. I'm a tech expert, not a fighter. Barbara's reflection appeared beside hers in the glass. Neither was I, at first. But Gotham doesn't care what you think you are. It only respects what you become. Max swallowed hard, understanding the weight of what the former crime fighter turned commissioner offered. Not just training, but legacy. When do we start? She asked confidently. Barbara grinned at her enthusiasm. Tomorrow night. We'll meet at Wayne Manor. With both awe and trepidation, Maxine Gibson stepped into the Batcave for the first time. The damp, cool air filled her lungs as the vast cavern stretched before her, illuminated by the blue glow of advanced computer systems. Bats chittered in the darkness above, their wings creating gentle drafts that stirred her hair. Still remember all the access codes, Barbara said, her fingers dancing across a control panel. Bruce changes them periodically, but he's surprisingly predictable in his patterns. A wry smile crossed her face. He'd be furious to know I still keep a key to the old place. The training began immediately. Barbara didn't believe in easing into things. Max found herself thrown to the training mat repeatedly, her body collecting bruises as Barbara demonstrated takedowns with the efficiency of someone who had performed them thousands of times. Again, Barbara commanded, after Max failed to block a relatively simple attack sequence. Your mind knows what to do, but your body hasn't caught up yet. Max pushed herself up, ignoring the protest of her muscles. Thought you'd go easier on the injured student. Injured? You call that an excuse? Barbara replied, already circling for another attack. I'm 72, and you're what, 18? Hey, Max quickly retorted, sidestepping an attack. I'll be 19 in 10 months. Days blurred together. Between combat sessions, they hunched over the computer, diving deep into Michael Peake's digital footprint. Maxine's fingers flew across the keyboard, breaking through firewalls and encryption that would have stymied most hackers. Look at this, Max said on the fourth day, pointing to financial records she'd uncovered. Michael's been receiving payments from at least 7 high-profile individuals, all people his brother had supposedly gathered dirt on. Barbara leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. Blackmail. He must have gained access to Ian's files after his disappearance. Not just blackmail, Max added, pulling up another screen. He's funneling portions to offshore accounts. This one specifically. She highlighted a series of transfers. Barbara's expression hardened. I recognize that account. It belongs to Stalker, an enhanced hunter who once targeted Terry, dangerously good at what he does. The commissioner pulled up his picture, and Max's eyes widened in recognition. That's him. That's the guy from Fox Tecker. She sat back, the pieces coming together. So Michael handles the digital frame-up while Stalker does the physical sabotage. Perfect partnership. On the 8th day, evasion maneuver that ended with Barbara pinned to the mat. The Commissioner's eyes registered surprise, then approval. "You're learning faster than I did," Barbara admitted as Max helped her up. The Commissioner led her to a sealed case near the back of the cave. "But remember, Max, the suit doesn't make you Batgirl." Barbara touched Max's temple. "What's in here does." The case hissed open, revealing a modernized Batgirl suit. Sleek black material with purple accents, incorporating cutting-edge tech while honoring the original design. "I've been modifying it between sessions," Barbara explained. "Your final exam is coming up sooner than expected." Max stared at the suit, her reflection in the helmet's visor showing a face transformed by determination. Not just a tech genius anymore, but something more. Someone who could carry forward a legacy while forging her own path. "I'm ready," she declared, her words echoing against the walls of the cave. Max steadied her breathing, feet planted shoulder-width apart on the training mat. Her muscles had moved from screaming in protest to a dull, persistent ache that signaled growth rather than injury. Barbara circled her like a predator, looking for weaknesses in her stance. "Your balance has improved," Barbara noted, feinting left before striking right. Max caught the incoming blow on her forearm, pivoting to counter with a sweep that nearly took Barbara's legs from under her. The older woman recovered with ease, but the flicker of approval in her eyes was unmistakable. "Not bad for a GU tech nerd," she quipped, maintaining her defensive position. Barbara launched another combination, a jab followed by a hook that Max slipped past, countering with a palm strike that stopped just short of the Commissioner's sternum. "You're learning to anticipate," Barbara nodded, stepping back. "Good. In the field, reading your opponent's intentions can mean..." A blaring alarm cut through the cave, echoing off the stone walls. Both women turned toward the massive computer screen as it switched automatically to an alert protocol. Surveillance footage materialized, a familiar silhouette moving with preternatural grace across Neo Gotham's industrial skyline. "Stalker," Max breathed, the memory of their last encounter sending phantom pain through her healing ribs. Barbara moved swiftly to the console, fingers flying over the controls to enhance the image. Perimeter alert from an old Wayne Powers manufacturing facility. Max's eyes tracked the hunter's movements, noting the calculated precision in each leap and bound. Her pulse quickened, not with fear, but anticipation. "This is it." She turned to Barbara, finding the same resolution mirrored in the Commissioner's expression. "My final exam." Barbara's lips curved in a slight smile. "Unless you'd prefer another week of me tossing you around." Hard pass. Maxine crossed to the display case where her suit waited. The material molded to her body like a second skin as she suited up, each component integrating seamlessly with neural interfaces Barbara had installed. The cowl slid over her head, displays flickered to life across her vision. "Remember your training?" Barbara said, taking position at the computer. "Observe first, engage only if necessary." Max nodded, the weight of responsibility settling across her shoulders along with the cape. Channel my inner bat. Got it. The abandoned facility loomed against Neo Gotham's luminous skyline, its broken windows like missing teeth in a decaying smile. Batgirl glided silently between buildings, the suit enhancing her movements while dampening sound. Barbara's voice came through her cowl, steady and reassuring. Heat signatures on the eastern side. 2 figures. Max adjusted her trajectory, landing silently on a rooftop overlooking a loading bay. Through broken skylights, she could see movement below. Stalker stood with his back to her, his posture deferential to someone half hidden in shadow. "I need to get closer," she whispered, securing a line and descending through a gap in the roof. The interior smelled of rust and abandonment, decades of industrial chemicals leaving their mark in the air. Batgirl perched on a catwalk, activating the cowl's audio enhancements. Michael Peake's voice rose from below, volatile with barely contained rage. "The timing must be perfect." He spat, pacing before holographic displays showing Wayne Enterprises and McGinnis family data. "When the evidence drops tomorrow, it needs to look like Wayne orchestrated everything, using a troubled boy with a checkered past to act out his crimes." "Got it," Barbara confirmed in her ear. Clear audio feed established. "The price increases," Stalker said, his voice a gravelly rumble. "You'll get what we agreed on," Michael snapped. "This isn't about money. Batman and Bruce Wayne destroyed my brother. Now, I'll destroy their legacy." "Booyah," Max breathed excitedly. "We got him on record now." "It won't be enough," Barbara admitted with a sigh. "So we caught him plotting revenge with a crazy assassin turned saboteur, and it's still not enough." Max shot back, frustration evident in her tone. "Welcome to the tedium of law enforcement," the commissioner replied casually. "The richer they are, the more evidence you need to make it stick." A sudden silence below made Max freeze. Stalker's head tilted upward, nostrils flaring. "We're not alone." Max's heart thundered in her chest, memories of their last encounter flashing unbidden. She'd trained for this moment, but theory and practice collided harshly as she watched Stalker leap toward her position with inhuman speed. She abandoned stealth, activating the suit's tactical systems as she rolled sideways across the catwalk. "Found you," Stalker growled, landing where Batgirl had been perched seconds before. "Go ahead and dress like a bat. You still smell like a little rabbit." Adrenaline surged through Max's body as she launched into the offensive moves Barbara had drilled into her. She aimed a kick at his ribs, but Stalker caught her leg mid-air, using her momentum to slam her against a support beam. Pain exploded across her back. The suit absorbed most of the impact, but Max's vision still blurred momentarily. "You're fighting like Terry," Barbara's voice cut through her disorientation. "You're not Terry. Use your own strengths." Stalker lunged again, his enhanced muscles propelling him forward with terrifying speed. Instead of meeting his charge, Batgirl triggered a smoke pellet from her gauntlet, obscuring his vision. "Primitive trick," he snarled, his augmented senses cutting through the haze. Max slipped behind a column, interfacing with the facility's decrepit systems through her cowl. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, bypassing security protocols. Stalker stepped forward, tracking her heat signature through his cybernetic eye. "No escape, little rabbit." Ancient sprinkler systems roared to life overhead, dumping years of stagnant water onto them both. Max assumed the temperature difference would confuse his thermal tracking, but she hadn't anticipated how quickly he'd adapt. His fist connected with her ribs, sending her sprawling across the wet floor. Pain radiated through her chest as she scrambled backward, unable to find her footing on the slick surface. "Max, you need to retreat," Barbara urged. "He's too experienced." Another blow caught her shoulder, spinning her around. The next strike would have connected with her head if she hadn't triggered the emergency grapple, yanking herself toward a broken skylight. Glass shards rained down as she burst through the opening, Stalker's roar of frustration echoing behind her. Back at the cave, Max peeled off the cowl, hands trembling with leftover adrenaline. "I failed." He wiped the floor with me. Barbara approached with an ice pack. "I lost my first real fight too," she said, pressing the cold compress gently against Max's swelling cheek. "What matters is what you learn from it." She winced, reaching up to steady the ice pack. "I learned that next time I confront Michael, I should wait till he's without his hired help." Disappointment flashed across Barbara's face, and Max quickly backpedaled. "I mean, I'll rewatch the recording of our fight and look for weaknesses in Stalker's attacks." "Better," Barbara replied. "You can try again tomorrow night. I've located where Peak is staying." Max slipped through the shadows of Michael Peake's penthouse office, each movement calculated. The training with Barbara had changed her, not just physically, but in how she processed her surroundings. Her senses catalogued details automatically. The faint hum of high-end security systems, the subtle draft from concealed air vents, the lingering scent of expensive cologne. The Batgirl suit felt like an extension of herself now, its systems interfacing seamlessly with her thoughts. She'd bypassed the external security, using a combination of Barbara's old tricks and her own coding innovations, a perfect synthesis of 2 generations of vigilante tech. Michael stood with his back to her, silhouetted against Neo Gotham's glittering skyline. The view from his office was worth millions, but his attention remained fixed on holographic displays showing footage of Bruce and Terry. "You know," Max said, stepping from the shadows, "for someone concerned with privacy, you should invest in better security." Michael whirled, his composure fracturing for just an instant before sliding back into place. "What do you know? There is a new Batgirl." He feigned nonchalance while discreetly removing the vid disc from the holo display. I knew someone would show up to try and clear Bruce and Terry's names, he admitted, a sly grin spreading across his countenance. Frankly, I was expecting Robin. I'm just here to talk, Peak. Batgirl kept her stance relaxed, but ready, exactly as Barbara had taught her. Michael let out a mirthless chuckle. Talk? After what they did? He gestured toward a display case where a data drive sat illuminated like a museum piece. My brother was going to be remembered for generations. The man who unmasked Batman. Your brother stole experimental technology, and it backfired on him, Batgirl said, watching his reaction carefully. No one made him disappear. Physics did. Michael's face contorted. Lies. They silenced him to protect their precious secret. He slammed his fist against his desk. I found everything. His backup files, the footage from inside the Batcave. He identified both of them. A barely perceptible shift in air pressure behind her was Max's only warning. She dropped and rolled as Stalker descended from an open skylight, his steel bow crushing down upon the space she once occupied. Your pet's punctual, Batgirl said, rising to a defensive stance. Stalker circled her, his enhanced muscles coiling beneath his flesh. Not so easy to escape this time. However, Batgirl had no intention of fleeing. She'd analyzed their previous encounter, identifying the patterns in his attacks, the limitations of his enhancements. This time, Max was ready. As he lunged, Batgirl triggered an electromagnetic pulse from her gauntlet, a modification she'd added specifically for this confrontation. The pulse disrupted Stalker's vision enhancement systems, momentarily blinding him. She circled her opponent, maintaining distance as the hunter's augmented eyes recalibrated from the EMP burst. His movements grew more erratic, frustration evident in each wild swing. Stay still, he snarled, lunging forward with a strike that missed her by inches. Not really my style, Batgirl replied, ducking under another blow and delivering a precise strike to his knee joint, exactly where she'd identified a weakness in his cybernetic enhancements. From her peripheral vision, Max spotted Michael frantically typing at his computer terminal. The screens flickered with file transfers. He was extracting evidence, preparing to run. Time to wrap this up, Max muttered, deploying a second EMP pulse that sent Stalker's systems into complete disarray. As he stumbled, she fired a reinforced bowler from her gauntlet. The cables wrapped around his legs, sending him crashing to the floor with a roar of outrage. Before he could slice through them, she followed with a targeted freeze capsule that encased his arms in ice. You are no Batman, Stalker growled, straining against his bonds. You're right. I'm Batgirl, Max countered, turning her attention to Michael. He grabbed the data drive and was heading for the exit when Batgirl's grapple line caught his ankle. He crashed to the floor, the drive skittering across polished marble. No! Michael lunged for it, but Max was faster, scooping up the evidence. Got what I need, she said, securing Michael with restraints. Plus, access to your entire system. Her fingers flew across his terminal, bypassing security protocols and extracting the conspiracy in its entirety. Communications with Stalker, plans for the frame-up, financial transactions. The evidence unfolded before her in perfect digital clarity. Commissioner Gordon arrived at police headquarters to find an unusual package outside her office door. Two men, Michael Peake and Stalker, sat bound back to back, still unconscious from the sleep gas Batgirl had administered. Attached to the evidence drive was a metallic emblem, unmistakably a bat symbol, but with delicate purple accents framing the wings. A new signature for a new guardian. Max stood in the vast foyer of Wayne Manor, heart racing despite her outwardly calm demeanor. The massive entrance hall felt both intimidating and oddly familiar, as if she'd been meant to stand in this space all along. Beside her, Barbara moved with the confidence of someone returning to a second home, her silver hair catching the afternoon light streaming through tall windows. "They're waiting in the study," Barbara said, leading the way through corridors lined with portraits of Wayne ancestors. Max nodded, keeping pace. The news had broken that morning. All charges against Bruce Wayne and Terry McGinnis had been dropped. The evidence she'd gathered had been irrefutable. Michael Peake's elaborate revenge plot exposed in meticulous detail. The study door stood open. Inside, Bruce Wayne sat in a high-backed leather chair, looking like an aging king upon his throne. Despite his years, his eyes remained sharp, calculating. Terry leaned against a bookshelf, arms crossed. The tension in his shoulders finally eased after weeks of legal limbo. "Barbara," Bruce acknowledged with a slight nod, then shifted his penetrating gaze to Max. "Ms. Gibson." The commissioner placed a hand on Max's shoulder, gently nudging her forward. Wayne's expression remained unreadable. "Barbara told me what you did. That was very reckless, even for you." Maxine met his gaze without flinching. "You're welcome." A moment of silence hung in the air before Terry broke into a wide grin, pushing away from the bookshelf. "So, you actually took down Stalker. Solo." Terry's voice carried equal parts disbelief and admiration. "Very shui." Max shrugged, but couldn't suppress the smile tugging at her lips. He wasn't expecting the EMP trick. Everyone has a weakness. Wayne and Gordon exchanged knowing looks, a silent conversation between old allies that spoke volumes. The old man's stern expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Perhaps," Bruce said, the words coming reluctantly, "we should discuss your future involvement." Max's pulse quickened as she watched Mr. Wayne tug on the pendulum of his clock, activating the secret entrance to the Batcave. She followed him down the curved stairs and towards a glass case. Inside hung her Batgirl suit, sleek violet and black, modified with Bruce's technology, but unmistakably her own. Bruce gestured for Max to step closer as he opened the case. "Welcome to my world, Miss Gibson."